Hey everybody, Wayne here. In today's Let's Play, I'm going to do a full turn tutorial of Stalingrad Advance to the Volga, 1942. Designed by Michael Rinella, co-published by Take Game Designs and Revolution Games. This is a solitaire wargame where you're using area movement, where you take control of the Germans, and they're obviously advance to the Volga, right? The system manages the Soviet defenders. It is played, the main game is played over 9 turns. There's also another scenario, I believe it's called Factory Defense, Defense of the Factory, something like that, that is shorter. So what I'm going to do is I will do a kind of a quick overview of the system, the game, the units, kind of how things work. But then it'll be very short because then we're going to dive into it. Like I said, the full first turn, it's all set up for the first turn. And we'll get through a complete turn of that where I'll explain everything. I'll have graphics pop up, really help you, see how the game is, see how the game works, so that not only will help you learn it, but also to see if the game is for you. And then I'll probably have additional videos where maybe I continue either this playthrough or maybe reset it and do a new playthrough. So, okay, I think that's enough for the intro. Let's go ahead and dive into the overview. All right, so like I said before, I have the game set up here for the initial full game setup. The map is an actual wartime map from the Germans that they use for the graphics. You can see it's divided up into separate areas. The areas will have a number up top telling you what number it is. It goes up to 50 areas. There on the bottom of each area listing, you'll see a plus number. That is the terrain modifier for the defender. And the color is going to tell you kind of what terrain it is. So along with the terrain with the defenders here, the way the system works is that instead of having Soviet units like yours, which we'll cover yours in a second, it actually has these little units based on the terrain, right? So you'll see if it's clear, light urban, elevated, heavy urban. And what you do is when it's encountered, you flip it over. Now it's going to have a number, which is the defense number. And then it's going to have a special ability. Is it a hero, fanatic, ambush, and there's also barrage and guards. Those will have, and they're called Soviet defense strategies. That it's going to impact the battle when they're first encountered. If the defender is not eliminated right away, you no longer use a special ability, you just focus on the defense number. They're unrevealed, so each time you play the game, it's going to be kind of randomized. You're going to have a little bit of a difference with them. There's extra chits, so there's going to be some that aren't going to be in your particular game. Now, for your units, pretty standard, pretty common. Let's look at a couple here. Let's look at a mechanized and some infantry. So, looking at the units, the first number is going to be the attack factor. Second number is going to be the movement factor. You can either know is it an armored unit or infantry based on the NATO symbology. The 2915, 29 recon, first number is going to be the division, right? And second is the battalion. And then in the top right, that is a setup number. So it tells you what area it sets up in. The nice thing is that you can see kind of the color coded of these units here. So the infantry obviously colored there, and then the armored colored in the back. That's going to give you, if you have 3 of units in an area, a divisional integrity bonus. So you kind of want to keep your divisions probably working together to get that +1 during combat. Now, let's see. I'm trying to think of a setup here. So the areas, you can see some tracks here. So you have support units that you're going to apply that you can use during combat. You purchase them with supply points. You roll for supply points during supply phase. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and just run through the sequence of play. Sequence of play starts off, it's made up of 5 phases. It starts off with the dawn phase, which is reinforcements and withdrawals. During the main game here, when you start off, you have reinforcements on turn 2 and on turn 7. The game ends on turn 9, which there is a withdrawal on turn 9. So you'll have, in the main game, you'll have 2 reinforcements and 1 withdrawal. That's the dawn phase. Second phase, random event phase. You go ahead and roll 3d6 and consult a random event chart. Random event chart is going to have different things like basically that take place either off map, outside of the scope of the game that'll impact you. Something like a Soviet army breakthrough that maybe has you removing certain units from the game. Maybe a shortage of artillery shells. Maybe logistical pause where you're not getting enough logistics, so you actually have to flip your units over to the spent side. Speaking of which, I know we looked at them quick. I think I forgot to show you. After you activate an area and you move, you engage in combat, whatever, you can flip your units over to the spent side. There's no defense or attack factors. Once they're spent, they're done. And because the Soviets are static, they're not going to be attacking your units, so you don't have to worry about like a defense factor on them. All right, so after the random event phase, you have the supply phase. The supply phase, you roll 46, and then you go ahead and check for German supply. So that is a variety of numbers, right? So you could have a wide range. You could technically roll as low as 4, right? All the way up to 24 supply points. Now, in the first turn, which I'll explain later, there's a minimum of 16. But after that, you don't know what you're going to get for supply. Very variable, very random. After you roll for your supply, you go ahead and you spend them. You spend your supplies on a couple different things. Now, right here on the map, there's also the what you can spend your supply points on. By the way, sequence play is also on the map, which is nice. But you can spend them on purchasing support markers, which are artillery, air support, or engineers. And we'll cover more detail, and we should get into the playthrough here. But basically, those are going to be used to either artillery adds a +2 to your attack value. Air support actually takes away a 1d6 from the defender. Engineers the same as artillery. Also, with supply points, you can refit infantry and armor, which if they are defeated, they're not eliminated from the game. They're just placed in the out of action box. You go ahead and spend supply points to put them back onto the map. Finally, you can actually spend 3 points to increase your German morale. Now, the morale is very important on the game here. As it starts, you have a very high morale, and you actually gain a +1 on your attack value because of it. As the game goes, turns go by, certain battles happen, your morale is going to go down, down, down. It flips over. It goes from strong to shaken, which actually then provides a +1 defense value. So now you're helping the Soviets, right? Because your morale is so bad, the Soviets are better off. And it drops, drops, drops. It ever drops all the way to 0, you lose the game. After the supply phase is the combat phase. So combat phase is broken up into 2 parts. First one, it's called bloody streets. What that means is if your units are in an area contested, which means there's a active Soviet defender in a light urban, which is the gray, or a heavy urban, which is the black, then you're gonna have to roll on a chart. You could suffer a reduced your morale, or you could reduce your units to spent and reduce your morale by 1. Or flip them to spend, excuse me. After the bloody streets is checked for any of those areas, which, right, that means it could be no areas, it could be multiple, you never know, it just depends on how the situation is on the board. Then you do the kind of the core of the game, which is German movement and attacks. Movement and attacking, very simple. You're going to activate a certain area. All these units within that area activate. You can move them. If you move them in, depending on their movement factor and depending on the movement cost, generally speaking, you're moving into adjacent areas where the Soviets are. You may end up behind the lines, and then you have to maneuver up to it. Most of the time, you're going to be able to maneuver into areas with Soviets. You'll then, if you're moving into an area for the first time, there's no other German units, you have to conduct mandatory combat. If you already had German units there, or you activate an area where there is, you've already had the units with the Soviets, you don't have to have the combat. As for combat itself, I'm going to go ahead and describe that during the playthrough, not during this, because it's a little bit more complicated. Finally, after the combat phase is the last phase, the end phase, automatic victory check. Automatic victory is if you control all 50 areas on the map. Good luck doing that. And then after that, you flip all spent units to their fresh side. You reduce German morale by 1 automatically. So remember, at the end of every turn, you're flipping it down. This is why morale it's going to plummet on you during the course of a game. And then you go ahead and advance the turn marker. At the end of turn 9, you're going to go ahead and check for the operational victory, right? So if you haven't had the automatic victory and completely taken over all of Stalingrad, you're going to check for the operational victory, which is the historical level of victory, which is basically you secure 40 areas and at least 1 heavy urban. So remember, there's 50 different areas. So it can only be Soviets in 10 or less areas, and you have to control at least 1 of these black heavy urban areas. All right, that is the basics of sequence of play and basics of the game. I'm sure you have many questions. That's okay. Let's go ahead and dive into the actual playthrough where, like I said, I'm going to run through at least the complete first turn with some graphics and everything else popping up just to explain things to you. So let's get to it. All right, let's go ahead and start the playthrough here. So Turn 1, move our turn marker onto turn 1, September 13th through 14th. Start off with a sequence of play. First phase is the dawn phase. Remember, that's any reinforcements or withdrawals. We're not going to have any reinforcements until turn 2, so we don't have to worry about that. And no withdrawals to the last turn of the game, so no worries about that. So let's go ahead to phase 2, random event phase. Roll 3d6 and consult the random event chart. Now, during the first turn, there are a couple exceptions, so we'll see what they are or if we encounter them. So let's go ahead and roll. 5, 6, 7, 8. Checking the random event chart. 8 is logistical pause. Aha. So that is one of the events that you do not conduct on the first turn. The 3 events are going to be the 64th Army Breakthrough, the 66th Army Breakthrough, or logistical pause. Just for reference, as you can see, logistical pause is you would normally, so after this turn it would apply, you roll a 1d6, you select that number of areas containing German units and flip them to spent. So basically those are all those German units, however, whether it's one area up to 6, you're not going to get to use them this turn, they're spent. But fortunately for us, it's turn 1, so we don't have to worry about it. All right, so after random event phase, go to supply phase. First step, roll 46 for German supply. Now, I think I mentioned this before, during the first turn, this is the other exception to the other first turn exception is you're going to roll 46. You have a minimum of 16, which good for us because we only rolled 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. But because it's the first turn, we get 16. Let's go ahead and move the supply up to 16. So there's a 10 marker, right? Put on the 1 and a 6 here with that one. Now, one thing I want to address, if you notice, I do not have the control, if you're familiar with the game, I do not have the control markers over here. So I think I put them over here. Yep. So the control markers here. So one thing you can do, and this is how the rules are. So I was going to do it just for you guys, but I'll just explain it quick because I feel comfortable playing without it. So the game has you keeping track of areas under control. So as you would take them over, right? So you have the German areas, which are, you can see where our units start, and then all the units where the Soviets are set up. Now, what you would do is every time you would eliminate the Soviet unit, you go ahead and place a German control marker in there. Well, what I found is it kind of clutters up the board. It's superfluous. You don't need to do that. At the same time, every turn then you're moving the control markers, keeping track on the record track. It also starts, then you're messing with the supply here because, they share the same track. It's just a lot of fiddliness I find you don't need because if an area has no Soviet units, it's German controlled according to the rules. So you don't necessarily need these to know, well, who controlled an area? Well, if there's a Soviet unit, they control it or it's contested. If there's no Soviet unit, you control it. So, okay. And secondly, at the end of the game, remember I mentioned the victory is very simple, is that you either eliminate all Soviets for the automatic victory or the operational victory, you control 40 plus areas, including a heavy urban. Very easy to check because that means there's going to be 10 or less Soviet areas. Super easy to check at the end of turn 9. So I don't even worry about the control markers and the control record track. If you want to follow the rules exactly, go ahead and use them. I'm not going to. Okay, so supply, we got our 16 supply. Now we spend them. Now one thing, easy to forget rule, is that you always get an air support. I believe it's mentioned in the rules. It's mentioned on a player aid card. You always get an air support. Remember, the air supports are really nice. They cost a lot too. Is the negative 1d6 to the Soviet defense, which, you can maybe only roll a 1 or 2, which happens to me a lot, but you could roll 4, 5, 6 and really hurt them. So make sure you put that in your available support units box right away. All right, so now you have 16 supply. Spend them whatever you want. First turn, morale's already maxed out, so you're not worried about that. And there hasn't been any combat yet, at least none within the context of this game. Yes, in reality, the Germans have already been fighting, but in the context of this game, you don't have any units out of action. So you can go ahead and just focus on buying support units. So that's what we're going to do. So we have 16. So let's go ahead. Air supports, there's 2 left in the box. They're 3 points each. So let's go ahead and buy both of them. So that's 6. So we go from 16 to 10. 10 supply left. Let's go ahead and buy a bunch of artillery. Artillery is nice. It's only 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's buy 7, which brings our supply from 10 down to 3. And then we could buy engineers, but I'm not using the rubble effect rule, which is an optional rule. So engineers are not as good. Basically, an engineer is just like artillery. It adds a +2 to your attack value. They cost a lot more though. Instead of 1 point like artillery, engineers cost 2, so it costs twice as much. But if you're using the rubble random effect, or excuse me, not random effect, excuse me, the optional rule, that would limit your divisional integrity, which I mentioned before, we'll cover that in the combat, but it would limit your divisional integrity in urban areas unless you had an engineer. But we're not playing with that rule, so we probably won't buy a whole lot of engineers. Okay, and we can hang on supply from turn to turn, which is really nice, thankfully. Otherwise, we would buy them. So let's go ahead and just hang on to that 3 supply points. That's it for the supply phase. Let's go to kind of the core of the game, the combat phase, where we're going to have, activate areas and move and attack. All right, beginning of the combat phase. First step would be bloody streets. I mentioned this before. That's if you have your units in a light or heavy urban area along with active Soviet units. We do not. None of them, start together, start in their own areas, so we don't have to worry about that for first turn. So let's go ahead and begin the regular area activation, movement, and attacks. And this is going to be an all-out attack. We're going to be launching attacks all over the place here. So I don't know if I'm going to do it for all of them, but I'll definitely, for the first couple attacks, have graphics pop up and everything so you guys can see it in detail how it works. Okay, let's go ahead. Nice, easy one. Well, hopefully easy for us. Let's activate Area 2, which is Hill 144.5, and move into and attack the hospital. So technically you do it 1 unit at a time. So we activate Area 2. We move our units 1 at a time. So we'll move them into the hospital. There's a movement charts, movement costs, and movement factors. So you have to be aware of that. Basically, how it's going to work, though, for the most part in this game, like I said, you're going to be moving into adjacent areas with the enemy. Sometimes you can move to a vacant area that you control. There's no enemy units, and then into them. But depending on the movement factor, that may not be possible. Mechanized are going to have 6 movement. Infantry generally are going to have 4, which means infantry probably can't do that. Mechanized generally can. However, like I said, for the majority of the time, you're just going to be moving into, say, an adjacent area with the enemy. So, which costs 4 movement factors to enter an area containing an unrevealed Soviet unit. 6, they also all have 4, so that's easy. So they can all just move in. You move 1 at a time, movement, movement, movement. And you can move them in different areas if you wanted, right? You can move them around. But because of that division integrity bonus, you're going to want to try to keep them together. At least I find that to be the case. So, okay. So we moved into the area here with the hospital. We'll go ahead and we have it's clear terrain, right? The green. Let's go ahead and reveal the Soviet unit. Barrage with a 5 defense factor. So barrage is the German player must either place one of the attacking units in the out of action box prior to combat resolution, German player's choice, or flip all attacking units to spent and retreat them. I'm going to go ahead and take the hit once, and we're going to have to conduct combat. So we revealed him. This is now going to be a mandatory combat. I mentioned this before. Because we're moving into an area where there was no German units previously, and we revealed him, there's going to be a combat. It's mandatory. If, say, he'd already been revealed, and we had 2 units there, 2 like this, and we activated Area 2, we could have moved him in, and we may have said, okay, we don't need to conduct combat. Or say we're already here, and then we activated this area, we could move them out of there, and they wouldn't have to fight him. But because we moved in, we're going to have to conduct the fight. So because of that, there is going to be a combat. So with the barrage, and remember that's called a Soviet defense strategy. Because of the barrage, what are we going to do, right? Are we going to place one of our attack units in the out of action or flip them to spend and retreat? I want to have this combat, so let's go ahead. We're going to take one of these infantry. He's a little bit weaker here, only a 2 attack. Sorry, buddy. 194th Battalion. Let's move him to the out of action box. Don't worry, we can refit the infantry unit next turn during our supply phase if we spend the points. Okay, so we still have units available, and it's mandatory attack, so let's go ahead and conduct our very first combat. All right, combat resolution here. It's fairly simple. There's multiple steps involved, but it's not that complicated. First off, you designate a lead attacking unit. They're going to have a big impact on your attack value, so generally speaking, you want to pick a higher unit. Some of the Soviet defense strategies, though, can eliminate an attacking unit, like an ambush. Eliminates the attacking unit after combat, so you may want to be careful then. Fortunately for us, it was a barrage, so we don't have to worry about that. So we're going to go ahead and select our armored unit here, mechanized, with 4 attack. So we start off with 4. We go ahead and we can add 1 for each additional attacking unit. So 4, right? There's 2 extra units, so that makes it 6. We're going to go ahead and place any support markers into the area, which let me see. What I think quick is 5. Always check the defender quick. 5 plus the terrain is 6. So 4, 5, 6. A little too close to call. There's going to be another bonus. Hang on a second, though. We'll get to that. So let's go ahead and send, let's do 1 artillery. Yeah, let's do 1 artillery, which is attack value +2. So we're committing artillery to the battle. So attack factor 4. 2 additional attacking units. 5, 6. +2 for the artillery makes it 8. Now we would check for a divisional integrity bonus. Unfortunately for us, because we did eliminate an infantry unit here, the 71st Division, it does not have 3 or more units from the same division, because this is an unaffiliated armored unit, right? It does not have, unlike, say, over here, where they're affiliated together, the 24th, this is not. So, technically speaking, we do not get the divisional integrity bonus. Bummer. So, but we do get 1 more from German morale. I mentioned before, when the morale is strong, so it's on this part of the track, 10 through 19, you get +1 to your attack. Once it gets down to 9 or less, it flips over, and you start getting +1 to the defense, to the Soviets. But right now it's strong. German morale is strong. We're feeling good about this. We get a +1. So that was a total of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9 for the morale. So a total of 9. Now what I do, these do not come in the box, but to keep track of this stuff, because I can never remember it turn to turn, all the different battles, is I go ahead and use a D20 to set it, and we know we have 9 for our final attack value. And now the defense is super easy to figure out. Defense value is the defense factor of the Soviet unit, which is barrage. This unit, not the barrage. We already did that. His defense value is 5, plus the terrain effect modifier, which is clear area, so it's only +1 to him. It's good for us. Total is 6. Now, if German morale, remember, was low, it would be additional +1. And then if we had German air support, it would reduce it by -1d6. Those don't apply, so it's just 5 + 1, 6. So go ahead and take this one for the Soviets. Again, you don't have to use a die. You could use something else, or you could just maybe have better memory than me. You can remember it. I sometimes can't, and so just make sure I don't mess it up. Especially some of the higher numbers when you get a bunch of modifiers. I just like to do that. So 9 attack value versus 6. Are we done yet? Of course not. We got our dice here. We got to roll. So you roll 2d6 for each side. And go ahead and add them up. So 7 goes with our attack. So 9 plus 7 is 16. 5 plus 6 is 11. So 16 versus 11. What you want to do is go ahead and, so that was at least a success. So good. But what you want to do, it could be a overrun. So you take the attack total, right, which is 16, and you subtract the defense total, which was 11. 16 minus 11 is 5. Now compare that to the defensive factor of the defending unit. It's equal, 5. So it's not an overrun. If it was greater than, so if the difference had been 6 or higher, we'd have an overrun. Although technically that would not affect this battle at all. An overrun allows you to cancel the negative effects of a heroes, an ambush, or a fanatic Soviet defense strategy. And sometimes that's a big deal. Like sometimes you want to make sure you do that. So you want to almost pile on the attacker, even though you know you're probably going to win. You want to pile on the bonuses because you want to get an overrun. In this case, it didn't matter either way. I just wanted to make sure I won the battle. That's why I only committed the 1 artillery. So we're successful. A success. So the Soviet unit is eliminated. And I like to just go ahead and set him aside. This is where you would place a control marker, and you would go ahead and update the control track here, right from where it starts off, and move it up on the record track. Again, I'm not going to do that for this game. Let's go ahead and get our dice out of the way, though. And then all of our unit, and go ahead and place the support marker in the used support units box. Don't worry, we can buy it back next turn. And now we flip our units over to spent. And that is a complete combat from moving into an area, having a mandatory combat, and resolving it and taking control of the area. All right, well, we got plenty more units to activate. Let's go ahead and get to it. So let's go ahead and activate area, should we do 49 over here? Let me activate area 50, actually, and move these units. And I'm going to move them over here to area 49 to team up with their fellow divisional member. And then let's go ahead and flip them over to spent because you're not going to do anything else. You're not going to move an attack. Probably going to leave him there because I want him teamed up with them. And I'm going to activate Area 48 here. I'm kind of consolidating some units and move him over here. Spent. And now stacking is 4 German units to an area, so that's full area. So I can't move him into there. I'll just leave him as is. So he's spent as well. Now I think we want some more units we want to go ahead and team up. Yep, right here. So let's go ahead and activate Area 4. Zaritza Woods. We have the 24th Division here. They're separated. I want to go ahead and get them together again. Combined, their strength can be better. You get the integrity bonus, divisional integrity bonus, and also they get those, +1 for each additional attacking units. Generally speaking, you want to try to probably get 4 units together. At least that's what I find from my experience. So let's go ahead and activate, like I said, Area 4 here. Move them up to Dovolyeya Woods. Move, and they'll be spent from the movement. Let's see here. I definitely want to do some more combat, though. Oh, yeah, we're going to have some more combat up here to show off to you guys. So let's go ahead and conduct combat here. Let's activate Area 1, Hill 126.3, and move them up to Gorodish, Area 31 here. So one at a time. Move, and move. Now let's go ahead and we're going to have a mandatory combat. So let's reveal it's a barrage. So just like our last one we had, a barrage, unfortunately. So remember, German player must choose either place one of the attacking units in the out of action box or flip all attackers to spent and then move them back. Retreat them. What are we going to do? Remember, we have mandatory combat, so we're going to have to take care of this. Let's go ahead and do the same thing we did before. Move them to out of action. What a bummer getting 2 barrages in a row. I don't like that. All right, let's go ahead. And this one's going to be a tougher one, so we're going to have to commit more to this. So let's have our mandatory combat. Lead attacking unit. I'm going to go ahead and use the armored unit here with this 5 attack. I can't. It's hard to turn that down. So place support markers. Let's do an air support, which remember is -1d6 to the Soviets. And let's commit 2 artillery. I really want to win this one. So let's go 2 artillery. Massive artillery bombardment here. Okay. What do we got? Let's figure out attack value and defense value. Attack value, remember, as an attack factor of the lead attacking unit. So 5. Additional attack units, just 2 of them, so 6, 7. Artillery, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ooh, not bad. No divisional integrity bonus again, because there's only 2 units that are part of the 295th Division here. But we do get a +1 for the German morale being strong, so that becomes 12. Let's go ahead and mark it on our die. So 12 for the attackers. Defenders, it's going to be 6 + 3, total of 9. No other modifiers, but -1d6. So let's hope for a high roll. 2. So 9 - 2 becomes 7. So go ahead and place a 7 here. So 12 versus 7. I like our odds. Let's go ahead and roll. Ooh, very nice. So yeah, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that becomes what, 21? Oh, snake eyes for the Soviets. Too bad. So 19. So 21, or excuse me, 9. So 21 - 9 is 13. No, that is 12, right? Yeah, 12. I'm so good at math, guys. That's 12, which you compare the unit here to the 12. It's greater than, therefore this is technically an overrun. Now again, barrage, it doesn't actually impact. It only really matters for heroes or ambush or fanatic. But a lot of times I like to just see it and kind of see, did I get an overrun or not? Okay, overrun. We win. Soviet unit eliminated. Get these dice out of here. Support markers back over to the use support units box. And our units flipped to spent. And if you're following the regular rules, you would put a control marker and then update the record track. Okay, what else we got left here? I think we only have, what, down here it looks like? We have, down at the leather factory, we have the 94th. They're not super strong. I think they could do some combat over here. We have to definitely, I know we would have to commit some units, but I don't want to waste them either. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's have some fun here. So let's activate Area 5, the leather factory, the 94th Division. And let's move them to the Southern Rail Station, Area 9. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, this is risky. I don't know if I should do this, but I'm doing it anyway. Fanatic. Okay, so we reveal the Soviet unit, Fanatic. Fanatic is, if the combat result is a success, it's changed to a stalemate. You ignore that, though, if the combat result is a repulse, stalemate, or overrun. See, overrun. Remember I mentioned overrun cancels the effects of heroes, ambush, and fanatic. Okay, so he's going to have 9 defense factors, so we're going to have to beef up for sure. So let's go ahead and we'll commit an air support, which, by the way, okay, let's do lead attack first, which is we are 3 infantry. Let's commit a air support, so minus 1d6, and let's commit 2 artillery. Yeah, that should be enough, I think. Yeah, let's do that. So let's commit 2 artillery. All right, so let's figure our attacks here. So attack value, it's 3, 4, 5, plus, 3, 4, 5 for 2 additional units, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus we do have 3 units from the same division, so we get a +1, that divisional integrity bonus, so 9 becomes a 10, and then our morale is strong, so it becomes an 11. So we actually have an 11, which is not bad at all. Not bad at all. I'll send them over here. And then for the Soviets, it'll be 6 plus 3, 9, minus 1d6. Come on, roll high, roll high. 5, very nice. So their 9 becomes a 4. Ooh. I could actually get this overrun. Maybe. We'll see. Hopefully I do, because then I can cancel the fanatic. So let's see. Oh, we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be close. I think it's going to be close. So we got 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 plus 11, 19. They got 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. So 9. So 19 minus 9 is 10. So again, that's 10 is the remainder compared to the defense value of the Soviet unit, 6. It's greater than, so at least 7 or higher, right? Boom. So we have an overrun, which means not only is the Soviet unit eliminated, but his fanatic, which would have been, if it's a success, it's changed to a stalemate. Stalemate, basically, nothing bad happens. You just are going to stuck in that area. It's going to be a contested area. Instead, because it was an overrun, we're able to eliminate him, and we're able to take control of the area. Very nice. I like that. All right. Get these units out of here. Okay. Where are we at here? Boom, and then make sure mark them as spent. So, all right. Look around a little bit here, see what we're doing. So, we have all these units down here. We're definitely going to activate them. I think that's it, though, because I want to leave him with them, so next turn they can activate together. Same thing with here. I'm going to leave them unactivated because I want them to activate together. Because if I activated this area now, these 2 units are spent, so it would only be these 2. Well, they can't take spent units with them. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of, which it can be risky because you're slowing down kind of your pace, which you only have 9 turns to take over, 30 areas. So you gotta be careful, but I think it's worth it to keep this division together and all those units together. So that's it. So all we have is area 6, Hill 120. Yeah, we're definitely going to do that area. All right, so we'll activate area 6, which is the 29th division here. And go ahead and we'll move right into Manina, which is area 7, adjacent. Move, 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 and move. Perfect. Now reveal the light urban Soviet defender. Barrage 8. Oh, that's brutal. Okay, so barrage, as we know, before the combat, we must place, we can either place one of the attacking units in out of action box or flip them to spent and retreat. I do want to conduct the combat, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of one of these infantry units. Sorry, buddy. We have 3 infantry battalions over here out of action, which thankfully, if you look at the cost here, refitting an infantry unit only costs 1 supply point. Sometimes you don't have a lot of supplies. Sometimes 1 point's a lot, but it only costs 1, so technically it's only 3 to get them all back. So we're not too worried yet. Okay, we're going to have our combat. I mean, it's mandatory. We have to. He has an 8 plus 3, so that's an 11 defense. It's going to be tough, so we need max support. So I hate to use all of our support units right away, but hey, I want to win these battles, so I'm going to commit the air support. Oh, and by the way, lead attack unit, of course, first. Let's go ahead and just commit to the 6th, the recon battalion here with his 6th attack. But we're going to commit air support and both artilleries. Let's just do it. Let's see what we can do here. So, all right. Let's figure in attack values and defense values here. So attack factor, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, plus the division bonus, 13, plus morale, 14. So we have 14 attack, which is very nice, by the way. I'll mark them here. And they have 8, plus the defense of the terrain, 9, 10, 11, minus 1d6. Come on, high. 5. All right. So marks them down to what? 6? 11 minus 5 is 6. Boom. 14-6. Oh, we're going to get a overrun here. Very nice. Which doesn't technically help us, but that's okay. It's still fun to get. All right. They did roll well, though. So we had 6. So 14 plus 6 becomes 20. They got 6 plus 5, 11. 11 plus 6 is 17. So 20 minus 17. It's a success. Greater than. It's not an overrun. But again, the overrun at this point doesn't matter anyway because of the type of defender the Soviet was. So we were successful. We do eliminate the Soviet unit. No Bolivar. We spent every support unit this turn though, so that's a little tough because the next turn it's going to cost that much more to get them back. So and we flip them over to spent. Okay, that is all the areas we're going to do for turn 1. Yep, like I said, there's a couple units I could technically activate, but I want to consolidate my forces before launching attack in turn 2. So that's it for the combat phase. So we go to the final phase of a turn, the end phase. Automatic victory check, which is, hey, do you control every area? We knocked out every Soviet defender. Again, good luck with that. We do not. Plenty of Soviets left. Go ahead and flip all spent units to their fresh side, which I won't make you guys watch. I'll do that off camera. And we reduce our German morale by 1. Reduce German morale by 1. And then I'm going to go ahead and move the turn marker over here to turn 2, which we will get reinforcements during the dawn phase on turn 2. So that is the end of turn 1. Let's go ahead and dive into turn 2. All right, let's begin turn 2. Turn 2 begins with dawn phase, which is reinforcements and withdrawals. We do get reinforcements this turn. We actually get the, what do we get here? The 389th Division, which is infantry, along with the 245th A Armored Battalion, Mechanized Battalion. I'm not sure the exact name of it, but they start in either Area 1 or Area 2. We get to pick. Let's go ahead and start them in Area 1 here. That way they'll be adjacent to some Soviet units. So simple as that. And then there's no withdrawals in the dawn phase. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video. You guys saw, because I actually want to make it a little shorter. I was thinking maybe playing a second turn, but no, I want to get, that full first turn. You guys saw all the sequence of play, how everything works. You didn't see every single Soviet defense strategy, but you get the idea, right? You saw how combat works, activating area, movement, combat, etc. You should have had graphics popping up, making things a little bit easier to follow. Maybe zoomed in a couple times if it made sense on the video. So overall, that should explain the game to you guys. I will likely continue with additional videos, continue my playthrough, but I just won't have as many of the, post-editing type stuff on those. So, but I want to make sure this one is wrapped up nicely and is a good tutorial and intro to the game. Stalingrad Advance to the Volga, 1942, by Michael Rinella, published by Take Game Designs and Revolution Games. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. Let me know if you want to see the playthrough continue. I probably will continue it, but let me know what you liked, didn't like, if the game looks interesting to you, if you're going to pick it up. And I should have an overview and review coming soon as well. So until then, everybody, later.